What's up, everybody? Welcome to Ramblin Men, and today we're going to ramble about something a little different than we normally do. We're going to ramble about some medical issues that one of us goes through, and that one of us is Josh. So, Josh, I know we have talked about it in some other videos before. For those who don't know, Josh deals with cerebral palsy and issues that come along with that. And every now and then, it seems to be in the last, I would say, year or so, it's happened a couple times. I don't know the frequency of it, and maybe you can, speak to that, Josh. But one of the things Josh deals with is full body spasms. Not like, oh, my arm is spasming. It's the whole body. Now, to be fair, for those that don't know Josh, he's a wee man. So there's not a lot of body there, but it's the whole body nonetheless. And it is not comfortable. I have spoken to Josh a little bit, been around him occasionally, I think once or twice in all the years we've known each other when it's happened. And it is not, you feel bad as someone myself because I can't do anything and I can't even imagine what you go through when you are going through that. So, Josh, kind of, I guess, talk to everyone kind of what you go through in the sense of what it's like, what you kind of have to take in order to maybe, reduce the pain, or I just don't know really what it's like. I know you've expressed it before. Explain it to me. Maybe explain it to everyone out there, kind of what it's like to go through what you go through.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I do have mild cerebral palsy, but the spasms actually stem from an experimental spinal surgery I had when I was around 9 years old. It's called a spinal rhizotomy. I do get spasticity, which is kind of the same thing from my cerebral palsy, or CP is the acronym. But the spinal surgery really exacerbated it. And so what it essentially is you hear about contractions when women have birth, right? And everybody's had a spasm where their foot shakes. So these are essentially every single muscle in my body contracts.
That just sounds about as fun as you make it sound. That just sounds miserable.
So the problem is that, it happens and you kind of shrug it off, right? Because I also deal with chronic pain. We've covered that. We'll probably cover that in detail later, another episode. But when you're going on your 14th hour of spasms and you're exhausted and it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop when you sleep. It doesn't stop, you can't stand, you can't walk because you fall over. It's very, very painful. And you're down for the count. So,
I mean, yeah, I will say this. We were texting the other day when we were actually going to talk about shooting this episode. And I know how it is. Usually when Josh and I talk back and forth through text, it's a pretty quick, unless one of us is really busy, and obviously him more so right now with a newborn. But you were quick on the text back, right? One of us says something, the other one responds within a minute or two. I know when he's going through a tough time because it sounds like a weird way to judge it, but I'll send something to Josh and then I won't hear anything for 3-4 hours, and I'll get a 1-sentence response, and then I'll respond back, and then the next day I'll hear back because you are literally responding and putting the phone right back down because you're dealing with what's going on in your body. And, I know it has to be tough. I try to explain to people that I work with about it. And I said, imagine just everything in your body, just if you, clench your fists and try to, flex all your muscles. I said, that's kind of what it's like, but it's never ends. It just is constant.
So if anybody at home wants to see what it's like, stand up and flex your muscles really quick, all of them, everything that you can, your toes, your hands, your jaw, your abs, your pecs, your arms, your legs. Do that as many times as you can for a minute, if you can do it for a minute. That is, you won't last a minute. It'll be like 30 seconds and you'll be tired. Imagine that all day long all the time
Yeah.
when these episodes happen. And the weird thing is, the thing that no scientist, no doctor can explain is I usually get them when I'm extremely stressed or when I'm sick. So if I get a fever, if I get the flu, I'm sick and then spasming on top of it. In fact, when I got the COVID shots, I was down for 4 days each with each vaccine and the booster for 4 days with spasms. I went from a size 33 to a size 32 in 4 days.
I
So
wish
if
I
that
could do that.
I'll give it
I
to you.
not saying I could go to a
You
size
want
30.
it? I'll give it to you. You can take it.
Just extreme weight loss. You know that.
Yeah.
But to also point out too, because you and I have had this conversation before, and you've also put it on social media. Even though he went through that when he got the shots, I know, having had the conversation, you would still get the shots again,
Oh yeah.
knowing that because of obviously, you know, what it does. So I mean, we're not going to obviously go too deep with that stuff, but that's something that obviously you talk about the importance of something. You knew after the first one, and especially after the second one, that you probably should, by the third one, we know it's going to happen again.
Yeah.
And you're still like, you know what? I'm still getting it because of what it does. So, you know, I can't even imagine having to go through, like you said, 30 seconds. You think about doing that just for a minute, but you, like I said, you can't even last 30 seconds. You're doing hours, days, and just how tired. And then it all happens when most, like you said, you're sick or stressed, which are not situations in which you need to be pushed beyond. You're already being pushed, right? When you're sick, you already feel like crap. Your body's already tired, and then you're having to deal with that. And then you're stressed. That just, the two things that you don't need to trigger it are triggers for it.
Right.
And that, I can't even imagine what that's like going through.
So
I mean, go ahead. I'll ask you this question after you say this. I just want to hear what you have to say.
so the biggest impact now is, now I'm a father, right? And
Yep.
and before being a father, I was a husband. And it's
Still a
hard.
husband.
I'm still a husband. Yeah, I
Yeah.
still have a
Yeah.
wife. I still have a
Still
kid.
have that. Still have
They're
that.
both still there. Uh, but the point is that, you know, it's the only time where I feel like I'm a burden on my family. So my dad said, when you got those spasms, he's like, there's nothing we can do. We can't even hold your hand because you'd break our hands. Like, I mean, so like, I can't help with the baby. I can't help with the house chores. Everything falls on my wife. Want everything. I can't do it. So, you know, that's the unfortunate thing about it. But yeah. So what was your question, Will?
Well, I was gonna say, and I've actually never asked you this. Is there any way to help um, reduce the spasms when they happen? Like I know it's not the same thing, but like for me, for some reason I get calf cramps. I got them all, last 20 something years. I've gotten calf, middle of the night, probably because I'm dehydrated or something, or move, calf cramps up. I've got them so often over the years that I know how to massage the muscle, reduce the pain, get the cramp to go away fairly quick. Is there anything that you can do, not using medicine, or is there anything you can do to help kind of reduce the pain or longevity of the duration of the spasm?
Outside of medicine, take a hot bath.
That's about it.
Spasm in the bath water. I mean, that's pretty much it.
It's creating level 3 rapids.
Yeah.
So what type of medication do you use then to
So
kind of help with that?
that's a good question. So I take baclofen, which is a spasticity stabilizer. Now that's just to keep me from having spasms that you would normally have with CP. Um, so I take that 3 times a day. I have since I can remember, even in elementary school, going down to the nurse's office, taking it. But when I have the spasm attacks, as we call them, I have to take clozapam, which is a muscle relaxer, and it is probably one of the worst it's a double-edged sword, right? So it's a muscle relaxer, but it doesn't really help too much because I still spasm, it's just
Yeah.
less. Eventually I fall asleep, but the side effects are horrific nightmares. Like,
I was gonna say something to that effect. I've taken muscle relaxers before, and I had some weird dreams. I mean, they were out there,
yeah,
and it was in a part of the brain I've never unlocked. And I was like, okay, this is I'm not. I don't even care what the pain is. I'm not taking because of that. Uh, that was nuts. So I can imagine when you're having to take them. I mean, you could probably rival Stephen King with some really weird things to write about.
oh yeah, so that's what I take. I take that on top of the baclofen. I take that 3 times a day or as needed. Um, So my dad, a funny story, my dad took clozapam for stress and anxiety, and he accidentally got our medicines mixed up one time,
Ooh.
and he took one of mine, and he slept for 12 hours straight.
Nighty
So
night.
that if that tells you
This house, yeah,
how potent
yeah.
my medication is, and the fact that I still basically it gets to the point where I am so exhausted that sleep is the only option, and the muscle relaxers help. Um, I've been told by my doctor I'm a candidate for medical marijuana, but with Indiana and my job,
Well,
you know,
I'm just saying it's legal where I live, full
yeah.
out. It's,
So, but the other thing about the medication though is I can't drive, and I really
yeah.
can't work because another side effect is memory loss. So in my job in IT, you have to be able to, if something breaks, you have to say, this is what I did, here are the steps I took, and you can't do that. So
No, you also have a nice playoff in case your wife ever asks for something. Oh, why don't you do this? Oh, I forgot.
yeah, I
Mm,
took clozapam. That's why the
uh,
trash didn't get
yeah,
taken
that's
out.
we seem perfectly fine. Well, that wasn't earlier, So
Yeah.
yeah, and now with that, you're saying you've been taking some of those for a long time. We were Josh and I talking off camera before this. I work with a gentleman who has a young child who goes through similar things, the same issues as Josh. Um, at least most about the CP part. I'm not sure about everything else, but his son was experiencing some spasms too, and he's taken and I don't remember the drug. He's taken a lighter form of it or a lesser form of it, just because obviously he's like 2 years old. Um, I know you wouldn't have known back then because you were young, but is there different drugs that you know of for kids and adults, or is it pretty much
I'm sure
just a
there
lesser?
is,
Yeah, I assume there's a kid's version.
because clozapam's a narcotic,
Yeah,
so it's an addictive substance if you take it in excess. So
yeah.
um, yeah, there probably is. I'm not up on the nuances of
Well,
what
then
they do
again,
for
it's been a while
children.
since you've been a kid, so
Yeah, it's been a bit. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I mean,
So
it's one of those things. We just wanted to touch base on it because one, it was recent. I mean, within what 30 hours less. I mean, less than 48 hours ago,
oh
you're
yeah.
going through
Yep.
this.
Yep.
So, and obviously he bounces back. I mean,
And
but
I worked through it. That's the
yeah,
funny thing.
doesn't
I
remember any
actually
of
went
it. Doesn't remember any
no
of
no.
it worked.
I worked through it. I just didn't take Klonopin, and
Yeah,
I was in a meeting spasming, and I had to turn off my camera so my coworkers wouldn't see. So
yeah.
it's
And
the
it's tough. I know it has to be tough on you in just everyday life. But then also, like you talked about your duties as a father, as a husband, you're the type of person that you don't you want to feel that not only are you giving your responsibilities, but you are very dutiful in those things. So I know you take a lot of pride in being able to be there for people, help people out, do just basic duties, and I know it shuts you down to where you can't do it. And it's not like you're being lazy or you literally cannot do it. It's if you tried, you'd just be like a slug crawling across the ground. You
well,
wouldn't be doing anything.
I mean, I'm not going to put my kid at risk, right? I can't
Yeah,
hold my
exactly.
daughter when she cries. I mean,
Yep.
you know, being a parent now, the one thing I want to say to our viewers out there, if you have anybody going through anything like this, and is, be there to the extent that you can be, but you really need to talk to your children, your spouses, whomever, your friends, even if you got friends, and just commit.
Hopefully they have friends. I'm just.
I mean,
I know friends that maybe have it or something like that, but I know
yeah,
you're getting that. But
yeah.
I'm just
But I
hopefully.
mean, like the important thing is to basically acknowledge, and Will is really great at this as a friend, the inner strength it takes to go through that much pain, wake up the next day, and go to work.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. I don't tell my bosses. My people at work don't know that I go through that. Just commend them on their inner strength, and don't baby them.
No,
Don't it. That's the biggest thing.
It is what it is.
They,
I mean,
they
you have
did
to
it.
deal with it.
Right. They did it. They overcame it. It's a new day. Move on.
Yep. Yep.
That's what you got to do.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
I mean, totally agree with you. It's obviously for me. I don't know or have a lot of people close to me that have major disabilities in the sense of the way what Josh deals with on a daily basis. He and I have known each other for a very long time. And I have seen a lot of what he has gone through here and there. That's for me. I don't it and I get it when people talk about you're used to dealing with someone, and I know there's different varieties and different levels of a disability. Obviously compared to other people, Josh is very, he didn't have
Very
any
lucky.
issue. Yeah, very
Very
lucky.
lucky.
He's can do everything that basically everyone else can. Whether someone tells him or not, I think that has always been for him the driver to prove someone wrong because of that. But having known him for so long and seen at times what he goes through, because it's not like you're out there just, broadcasting, going through this. Now, you'll say things sometimes on social media, not to try to get sympathy, but if people try and get a hold of you or something, hey, there's a reason I'm going through this, and then people who know you well enough kind of lay back until you reach out because they know what it takes out of you. And anyone who goes through any disability that fights through it day in and day out, I commend them because it takes
Yes.
an
Yes.
incredible amount of willpower, inner strength, and mental fortitude to go in and day out, just the physical and mental nature, not in anything else that comes from how society views you. Because obviously, those who have a physical disability, you're looked at a certain way by normal people, and then those who have a mental disability, not just obviously something that's a Down syndrome or something that's visible, but those who are also dealing with like a PTSD or
Depression,
so
anxiety.
anything like that where they're hidden and people are like, oh, I didn't even know. That's part of it too. It takes a lot for those people to just live every minute of every day, and I give a lot of I won't say props, but a lot of respect because I currently don't have. I'm very lucky. I don't have anything like that. I'm a very positive person.
Very
I
good
can't.
looking. You're a
Yeah,
very good
I
looking
try.
man.
I
I mean,
try.
it's a
I,
burden. It's a burden.
I
You
it's
struggle with
tough.
that.
That's why I keep it from the head up. I don't want to show people I'm gonna beat everyone off with a stick. Um, but the people that go through all those things, I know it probably doesn't mean anything to you guys, and that's fine. But I just want you to know that at least from us, you know, if there ever needed someone in your corner, we're behind you because what each of you go through that has to deal with some form of disability, it takes a lot. And I'm not one to sit there and placate to people, pat them on the back just because I know it's kind of our generation's the first one, everyone's a winner type deal. But the people who fight through adversity, the people who push through difficulties, those are some of the strongest people that I know. And you don't have to have a disability to do it, but the people who do have disabilities do it every single day, and it takes a lot. And there's a lot of, um, you know, again, props, but a lot of just gratitude towards you out there, Josh included, that people who don't have a disability don't know. They
They
just
don't. They
they have
really don't.
no clue, and not every disability is visible. And I know the ones that are visible are the ones that usually get more attention because people physically can obviously see it. Whether it's a Down syndrome, obviously is both physically you can see it most of the time. Obviously, it's a mental thing, but anxiety, depression, things like that, where you don't know. People who live with that day in and day out, I can't even imagine what that's going through, what they go through, and I have the utmost respect for someone like that because it takes a real person to put up and go through it day in and day out.
Well, I think the other thing and I experienced this. I don't want to divulge too much information, but places where I've worked in the past, they would rather not see it. Right?
Yep.
March was Disability Awareness Month, and very few companies in our country. It's a National Disabilities Awareness Month. They don't want to acknowledge it. They don't want to
No.
see it. They don't want to talk about it. And that's a shame because you're sidelining a reality that people go through. And, if you're having a difficult time in your day and you don't have a disability, imagine how much difficult your day would be if you have to think about every single minute
Yep.
movement that you have to do. If you have to wake up and force yourself to put a smile on your face or calm yourself down or whatever your case may be, that is inner strength. That is humanity adapting, overcoming adversity, and making the best of it. And we need to acknowledge it. We need to bring it into the light. And we need to stop not talking about it. We need to stop, in school, I did a speech for our entire high school, and it was titled Stop Staring and Start Talking. And
Yep.
it was, you would walk down the hallway, you'd see somebody in a wheelchair, and people would just look at him. It's like, say hi.
Yeah, treat
I
them
mean,
treat them like if you whatever. Hey, how's it going? How you doing today? Treat them
you know,
no different than anybody else because in the end, I think there's a mental thing. Oh, I I don't want to say or do something that would offend them. I think to me, it's more offensive not saying or doing anything and
correct.
treating them like you would everybody else. Treat them like a normal person. It doesn't matter if they're in a wheelchair, they're on crutches, a cane, if they're in a special needs. It doesn't matter. You treat them the same way you would your other friends or anyone else you talk to on a daily basis because that's who they are. They're a normal person who just has something wrong, right? It physically or mentally, there's something different, but that doesn't make them different.
Right,
You
absolutely.
know?
And you know what? I'm grateful. I really am. I have mild cerebral palsy. Do you know how rare that is?
Yeah,
That's like a unicorn. Like,
yeah.
I
Put
mean,
a
it's
put a put. I'm gonna put a horn on your head,
exactly.
and
There we
there
go.
we go.
Please do. Post
Yeah,
editing. Please put a
yeah,
unicorn horn on my head. But I mean, in my looks, I am a very handsome man, and
yeah. I mean,
I'm lucky. I'm
yeah.
lucky that
You
I have
have
those things.
there's just obviously
That's a joke, by
stature
the way. I'm
wise,
not I'm
that
not that narcissistic,
no, no, no.
people.
He's
Just
normally not. He's
let's.
normally not. He's pointing out. But yeah, I mean, when you look at, it, I mean, he played sports in high school. He earned letters. Obviously, people who have cerebral palsy typically don't do those things, or they had to fight through a lot more to get there. And to me, always you see the videos on social media where you know a kid who has usually a mental disability, maybe he's been a manager on the basketball team or the baseball team or the football team, and the basketball coach is like, yeah, last game of the year, he's a senior, put him in and let him shoot until he scores. The other team usually goes along with it, right? I I like that because that means the world to that person,
Oh my God, yes.
and
Absolutely.
it's in the fact that especially where the crowd gets in, right? You see the opposing players and everything, they get into it, they enjoy. That's that's being human, right? That's you want to see that, and we
Absolutely.
need more of that in everyday life. And I know humans are humans. We are who we are. I get that, but it's not hard to be kind. It's not hard to be nice. You can be a prick the rest of the day, but 10 seconds to someone who normally doesn't get noticed could mean their day.
Right. And
You
and
know?
and why does, I always say this, I didn't stop having a disability after high school or
Yeah,
after
right. Yeah,
college. Like come on, like the
adults
workplace,
have them too.
it's the same thing. I mean, let's go, people. I
Yeah,
mean,
I mean the closest thing you get in a workplace environment is a handicap place and a like an ADA ramp if you're lucky,
if you're lucky,
right?
because
That,
most
that that's literally it.
we could talk all day about ADA accessible buildings
Oh
because
yeah,
there's a
lack
huge
of.
issue there. Yeah.
Yep, lack of.
But
So,
yeah.
but I just want to thank you, Josh. I know we'll have more videos talking about different things you deal with your CP, but I know we've with everything you've gone through recently, and then having some conversations at work about those who go through it as well. I appreciate you talking about it because you're always very open about it. I think there are people sometimes who kind of hide from it or don't want to talk about it, and there's a lot of people who do. A lot of people want to bring awareness, and I appreciate the fact that you want to talk to people about it. You want to bring up, questions and answers about it. And the same thing here, guys. You watch this video. If you have any questions for Josh, or maybe something that he can help with, answer a question.
A topic we could do a
Yeah,
whole video
if
on.
there's something you want to talk about, definitely please bring it up because there's so many things that we can talk about just with his disability, and obviously there's so many different things
And
that
with
people
you,
deal with.
too, with you being a friend of a disability,
Yeah,
you can
what we
add
go through.
just as much, right?
Yep. I mean, it's a lot of people with disabilities. Their support structure are their family,
Which is
but
you.
yeah, right. That's I mean, you didn't have to be blood to be someone who's supportive. You can be a friend, you can be a neighbor, you can be a coworker, you can be anybody. But having someone support you is what everyone needs to have, at least one person, because it makes life better, it makes life easier. As long as someone knows what you're going through, you don't have to speak about it, but they know that if something happens, they can be there to help you out, in your time of need, and without wanting anything in return. That's what everyone deserves, at least one person to help them out, because it takes a team to go through it, and no one should have to go through anything like this alone. So is there anything else you wanted to add, Josh, before we sign off for the day?
Yeah, just to add on to that point, thank you to my friends. My wife is my rock. My family is my rock. My friends are my family. That's just how it is. They can claim it or not, but I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
And I don't want to cry on camera, but um, they did a lot, and they still do a lot, and I'm very thankful for every one of you. Thank you.
Well, I know, speaking from obviously the friends who aren't with me on camera now, because there's a lot of us. I know all of us are here, and we will always be there for you. That's just how we are. So we'll stop with the sob story there at the end.
Yeah.
But we thank you guys. Thanks for rambling with us, and we'll see you guys soon.